And so it's my privilege to introduce our last live speaker for tonight. It's Rachael Horner. There's a mistake in the program. She is our lovely class representative for the class of 2013. So please welcome her on stage to talk about
Not so good with microphones, so we'll see how this goes. You can start timing. So I'm going to start this talk the way I start every talk, with full disclosure. One, the only reason I'm here is to convince you to stop coming up with great ideas. Two, I'm going to illustrate this point with a personal story. And during this story, I'm going to overshare personal details. And you're actually going to feel uncomfortable, but so will I, so we're even. Now, what is a great idea? A great idea, an idea worth spreading, is different from other ideas. It tends to start small, a hunch, a notion, yada yada. And sometimes we share it, sometimes we don't. But no matter what, it grows. And as we start to see implications and applications for it, we get excited. The problem is that with all this thinking, sharing, and excitement, great ideas still tend to stay great ideas. And they rarely, if ever, transform into a great reality. Now, this is where I should tell you that I am your classic underachiever. And for most of my life, I've been a quitter. I dropped out of college, I traveled around the world working odd jobs, and I changed master's degrees about 3/4 of the way through. I am also passionately dedicated to any idea that I find interesting for about as long as I find it interesting. One day, at the age of 29, I realized that I wanted to do something with my life, but I was running out of time. In fact, I really only had this one summer left to accomplish something before I lost all my free time to USMLE, and then residency, and then a career in medicine. So I was suddenly motivated, and I sent out a massive number of emails to different organizations around the world, asking them if they needed help with somebody with my background. Most ignored me, some said no, but one said yes. Yes, because he had been thinking about setting up a microbiology lab for his clinic in Guatemala, but didn't know how. My first reaction was, I don't know how either. But I wasn't deterred, so I did what all good academics do. I looked it up online. After exhausting Google and Amazon and Wikipedia, I came to the conclusion that I've never done it before. I don't know anyone that's ever done it before, and there are no books to tell me what to do, so I can't do it. But I found this frustrating because I didn't understand why. So I revisited the idea every day for a week or so, each time coming to the same conclusion. It is impossible because I don't even know where to start. Which is when it occurred to me that you can't figure out where to start if you don't think about it. So I sat down and I made a list of all of the steps I could think of that would help me get the lab up and running. And then I modified that plan to make it more realistic. Realizing that there was a way, I accepted the project. And then I promptly stopped planning and started trying to talk myself out of going. Several months later, I realized it was too late to back out. So I started planning again. I researched materials, I bought my plane tickets, and I kept looking for a book that would tell me what to do. Here's the thing. We tend to devalue the abilities and experiences that we've acquired that seem unrelated to our ideas, or that make us feel a little less than successful. For example, one day in my last semester of college, I got quit fired from my job as a personal trainer, meaning I went in to quit, and they said, you can't quit because you're fired. And even though I quit first, it still really sucked to be unemployed. But for reasons that only my fellow underachievers will understand, I chose not to get another job personal training. Instead, I got a job waiting tables at a sports bar. Now, from there, I got into bartending and then corporate training. And as a corporate trainer, I traveled around the country opening up new locations as the company expanded. The first thing you do when you're opening up a new location is you clean and organize your space. Then you do inventory, get supplies, and train the staff to use it. So the first thing I did when I got to Guatemala was clean this closet they gave me for the lab. But actually, that's not entirely true. The first thing I did when I got to Guatemala was hop on a chicken bus and go to the, well, that's not working, go to the beach. The second thing I did was hop on another chicken bus and head to the clinic. There I discovered that the 8x10 room I had been promised was actually going to triple as a microlab, a pharmacy, and a storage room. And that there was actually no budget for the lab. So great ideas are scary and time-consuming. You're going to have to put in a lot of hard work, and you have a very high chance of failure. Now, you can pretend that you're not afraid of failure, but I am. No, it's true. So I was in Guatemala for about 5.5 weeks. Having worked in developing countries before, I expected time delays, and I actually built them into my plan. The plan was to have the lab up and going a week before I left so that I could train the staff to use it. I had also been assured that the doctor running the clinic knew a guy that could get me the supplies I needed in 2 days via email and courier without ever leaving the lake. So 10 days before I left, I finalized my inventory and I emailed the guy and got no response. 13 emails, 34 phone calls, and 5 days later, there were still no supplies in the lab. But I did have an interview with him in Guatemala City, which is about 1 boat ride, 3 chicken buses, and 6 hours away. After 2 nights in a sketchy hostel, I finally had my supplies, but I also had a problem. I had missed the last bus of the day to head back towards the lake. So I did what most people do. I went to McDonald's and hung out for a few hours till I could find a ride. After I got back to the lake, I found that I had another problem because I'd actually missed the last boat of the day heading to the village. So I called the doctor, who called a friend who knew a guy who could borrow a boat that was willing to take me from the dock to the clinic. And I stayed up for the rest of the night, sorting and labeling and drinking coffee. In the morning, I unveiled the lab. The next day, my last day at the clinic, I collected a skin scraping from a patient who had been coming for weeks with an untreatable rash right on her neck. And this was actually the first patient sample the lab had obtained. In retrospect, I am really, really glad that no one saw how excited I got when I confirmed that she had a fungal infection. So, I'm also afraid of success. Because when you put all of yourself into an idea, it consumes you. It's all you dream about, think about, and talk about, and it tends to bore the people around you after a certain amount of time. And now I lost my place. Let's move on. So what do you have left after that goal is gone? The first thing I felt when I finished that lab was incredibly ashamed. Because for the first time in my life, I was proud of something I had done. And it had taken me 30 years to feel that way. And I was also confused. Now, since I don't like feeling ashamed or confused, I started contemplating. And I came to understand that this experience was so valuable to me because it had been self-initiated, motivated, and supported. And I had been able to use my life's random stops and starts to accomplish something that I felt was worth doing. Which brings me back to the whole point of this talk, this whole TEDx event actually, and that is to convince you to stop coming up with endless great ideas that don't go anywhere, and to motivate you to take the inspirations that you already have and turn them into whatever action or inaction you desire. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.